στα αγγλικά.
Αυτό είναι ενοχός.
Ναι.
This inner horror, the inner horror of the realms, with representation of the escape of Odysseus and his companions from the cave of Polyphemus. It is a fine example of the Middle Proto-Attic period, 675 to 650 before Christ. This is a funerary Attic amphora attributed to the Chimera painter, the Chimera painter, whose work is probably identified as an early phase of the Nessus painter. It is depicting two antithetical chimerae, about 620 to 600 before Christ. Τι είναι χήμερα? Είναι το πιο ωραίο βιβλίο, μεγάλη χήμερα που κρατάει. Τι είναι χήμερα?
Τέρας. Ένα μυθικό τέρας.
Here we can see a fine example of an early classical sphinx. The head is turned slightly to the side. The chthonic aspect of the creature is denoted through the disorder rendering of the hair. Similarities with the statue of Apollo of Omphalos have induced scholars to attribute this work to the Boeotian sculptor Calamis, most probably a local work, votive offering from the temple of Apollo, about 460 before Christ. So, I would like to show only the disorderly rendering of the hair shows the chthonic aspect of the creature. This is positive, but it's not so chthonic as other sphinxes, isn't it? Huh?
I agree.
What did you tell me?
Ναι.
All that we see here are matte painted storage jars of the Middle Bronze Age.
Πιο δυνατά.
Pithi, they are called pithi in Greek, ancient world language, or storage jars, illustrate the development of the characteristic dull black painted decoration of Aegina. Dull, what does it mean dull? Παρετή.
Ναι.
Θα μπω.
Ναι.
Dull black painted decoration of Aegina. The dense criss-cross patterns, which initially covered the entire surface of the vases, later became more widely spaced and standardized, allowing more of the light backgrounds to show. Excellent. But I like these ones. They're psychedelic, like 70s.
This one in particular.
Yes, it's perfect. I do it. We are still in the this is a large Middle Bronze Age storage jar, or pithos, as we said. It is founded between 1900 up to 800 BC. This enormous pithos was found inside the house in the inner town. Its size which exceeds the width of the house door, and great weight indicate that it was constructed in situ rather than brought there ready-made. So it was constructed there in situ.
Okay.
It could not be brought from another part to this place. A petrographical analysis showed that the clay used for making the pithos did not come from Aegina. The pithos was probably made by a foreign potter who brought with him, as in recent times, the clay that he knew how to handle best. After firing the pot, he engraved his sign beneath the handle. Here's the handle. A crack in the lower part of the pithos was repaired using lead clamps. Molybdenum cement. This pithos is among the largest of this period in Greece. I adore this pithos. So, let's go. Fat. You're fat.
I'll tell my mom.
Αλλά δεν έχει 24.
Α, κάτσε, κάτι σημαντικό. Την επιγραφή θα ρωτήσουμε. Ναι.
In the yard is exhibited a large part of the Capodistrian collection, which was created for the establishment of the first museum of the sovereign Greece. It was collected by purchase and donations from different areas of Greece, especially from the islands. Most of the exhibits, graves, tales, come from Orania, where the cemetery of Delos. They are dating from the Hellenistic and Roman times.
Ναι. Έλα. Κάτσε, θα ξανανοίξω. Ναι.
Αυτό είναι κάτι δεν έχω. The mosaic decorated the floor of the Jewish synagogue of Aegina.
Πιο δυνατά. Έλα ξανά. Ναι.
The mosaic decorated the floor of the Jewish synagogue of Aegina. Discovered in 1829 to the east of the Secret Harbor, in the midst of an important quarter of the ancient city. Συγγνώμη, πάνω στην αρχαία πόλη τι κάνατε, μου δεν επιτρεπότανε. The building has been excavated only in parts because of its modern superstructures. During these investigations, remains of an older predecessor have been identified. Hatched walls. What does it mean, hatched walls? Συγγνώμη, γιατί έχω σκάσει από τη ζέστη. Έχω σκάσει από τη ζέστη, λέω συγγνώμη. Δεν επιτρέπεται. Είναι ο φύλακας. Είναι ο φύλακας. Δεν μπορώ. Είναι ο φύλακας. Τι σημαίνει χάρη? Through the entrance in the west and an antechamber, people reached the main hall, which measured 1350 to 760 meters. To the east, a raised apsis was annexed in which the shrine of the Torah was stored. What's the shrine?
Το γερόνα.
The shrine of the Torah. Between apsis and main hall stood the reading desk, wide recess in the eastern mosaic frame. For the purpose of preservation, the mosaic has been removed from its original context to the actual position. And it was removed. He was not here. And how was it removed? It displays the typical decoration patterns of mosaic floors of the 4th century AD, consisting of artistic geometric designs in a rich scale of colors. At the west side, near the entrance, 2 constructive inscriptions are visible. They refer to the erection of the synagogue using revenues of the community and donations of its members, when Theodorus was head of the synagogue. The bedding of the mosaic took place when his homonymous son held the same position. Thank you.
Temple of Apollo.
About the Hellenistic period in Roman rule, Aegina, with the rest of Greece, became dominated successively by the Macedonians, the Aetolians, Attalus, Pergamum, and the Romans. A sign of the Archaeological Museum of Aegina is reported to say that the Jewish community is believed to have been established in Aegina at the end of the 2nd and during the 3rd century AD. AD? After?
Εντάξει.
AD τι σημαίνει, πόσο?
AD, after the death of Christ.
After the death.
Ναι.
By Jews fleeing the barbarian invasions of the time in Greece. However, the first phases of those invasions began in the 4th century. Local Christian tradition has it that the Christian community was established there in the 1st century, having as its bishop Crispus, the ruler of the Corinthian synagogue, who became a Christian and was baptized by Paul the Apostle.
From Corinth, he was from Corinth.
There are written records of participations by later bishops of Aegina, Gabriel and Thomas, in the Council of Constantinople, 869, and the Council of Constantinople, 879. The see was at first a suffragan of the Metropolitan See of Corinth, but was later given the rank of archdiocese. What's that? No longer a residential bishopric, Aegina is today listed by the Catholic Church as a titular see. Now about the Byzantine period. Aegina belonged to the East Roman Byzantine Empire after the division of the Roman Empire in 395. It remained Eastern Roman during the period of crisis of the 7th to 8th centuries, when most of the Balkans and the Greek mainland were overrun by Slavic invasions. Indeed, according to the Chronicle of Monemvasia, the island served as a refuge for the Corinthians fleeing these incursions. The island flourished during the early 9th century, as evidenced by church construction activity, but suffered greatly from Arab raids originating from Crete. Various hagiographies record a large-scale raid ca. 830 that resulted in the flight of much of the population to the Greek mainland. During that time, some of the population sought refuge in the island's hinterland, establishing the settlement of Palea Hora. According to the 20th century Bishop of Athens, Michael Choniatis, by his time, the island had become a base for pirates. This is corroborated by Benedict of Peterborough's graphic account of Greece, as it was in 1911. In 1191. He states that many of the islands were uninhabited for fear of pirates, and that Aegina, along with Salamis and Macronissos, were their strongholds. And about the Frankish rule after 1204, about Francocratia, after the dissolution and partition of the Byzantine Empire by the Fourth Crusade in 1204, Aegina was accorded to the Republic of Venice. In the event, it became controlled by the Duchy of Athens. Duchy? Ducas. The Catalan Company seized control in Athens, and with it Aegina, in 1317. And in 1425, the island became controlled by the Venetians, when Elioto Caepona, at that time ruler of Aegina, placed himself by treaty under the public's protection in order to escape the danger of a Turkish raid. The island must then have been fruitful, for one of the conditions by which Venice accorded him protection was that he should supply grain to Venetian colonies. He agreed to surrender the island to Venice if his family became extinct. Antonio II Acciaioli opposed the treaty, for one of his adopted daughters had married the future Lord of Aegina, Antonello Copena. Thank you. Yes, this is the sanctuary of Athea.
Πιο δυνατά.
This is a reconstruction drawing of the sanctuary of Athea, as the visitor might have seen it about 490 BC. Straight ahead is the entrance gate. It is the sole entrance to the artificially constructed temple terrace, which is surrounded by a high wall.
Πιο δυνατά.
This boundary wall consists of a circle of ashlar blocks and the mud brick superstructure. Behind rises the Temple of Athea, its lower part hidden. It was erected between 500 and 490 before Christ on a very ancient cult place and on the site of a smaller predecessor, which had recently burned to the ground. This masterpiece of Doric temple architecture was built during the political and cultural peak of the island state of Aegina. Further to the right appears a single high column which carried the marble figure of a sphinx. Yes, can you see it? Not visible on the far right is the sacrificial altar on the pavement in front of the temple. The group of houses in the right foreground is built against the outer side of the boundary wall and was only accessible from the outside. They served perhaps as priests or sanctuary officials' houses. The nymph Thea was worshipped on the island of Aegina since the 2nd millennium before Christ, and only there. She was thought of as the daughter of Zeus and was similar to the virgin goddess Artemis. Thank you. So she was a nymph. She was worshipped.
Πού βρισκόμαστε? Αγγλικά.
In the sanctuary of Athea in Aegina.
Right, quite unique, eh?
In the sanctuary of Athea in Aegina. Pardon?
Quite unique, eh?
Pardon?
Unique. Έλα. Σένα.
We're in the sanctuary of Athea in Aegina, which lies above the headland of Agia Marina, on a hill offering a panoramic view over the sea. Worship on the site of the sanctuary goes back to the prehistoric times, around 1300 before Christ, when it was associated with a female fertility deity, as is clear from finds brought to light by archaeological excavation.
the Venetian tower. Bye bye. Bye bye.
Farewell, Aegina. Welcome back.
Thanks for the tour of Aegina.
We will be back.
Alright.